What is going on, everyone? Badger here. Make sure to like and sub, and let's get into this. And Gary, right when we needed you most, fresh on the day that Disney decided to continue to be stupid, double down on all their decisions as they do, and of course, voted to not elect the Nelson Peltz or Treon suggested board members and just keep their 12 board. And it's just indicative of a larger problem of all of Hollywood, that it's over, and they know it's over. And so they have nothing else to do but continue doing what they're doing, because if they admitted what they were doing was wrong, they would be admitting that they were wrong. So let's enjoy the Schadenfreude. And right when I need it most, here's Gary. Woke Hollywood in panic mode. This is a full-scale depression. I'm here for every minute of it. They deserve every bit of this. This is a result of their horribly timed strikes and their horrible decisions and their ideologically possessed writing. And this is the bed they now have to sleep in. And it's why they're, aside from male and pale as stale, their other mantra is survive till 25.
Nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 1 million awakening wonders.
And obviously, shout out to Gary for hitting that 1 million. Shout out to anyone who watched, because I saw some of you in the comments saying that you subscribed after watching him, my reactions. Thank you. And yeah, Gary is the Gandalf to all of us.
Thank you very much. You know, there are warnings as old as time. Don't talk about politics at the dinner table. Look both ways before you cross the street. Don't run with scissors. Don't drive drunk.
By the way, meet Joe Black. Great movie. And Frasier, great TV show.
Don't date a woke white woman. And our good friends at Hollywood have ignored the equivalent.
I think that was him from Cheers, but you get the idea. Frasier's also good.
Of all of those. Don't hire activists. Don't go on strike to hasten an industry contraction. Don't make the paying customer your enemy. Don't buy billion-dollar intellectual properties with built-in fandoms and then piss off those fandoms immediately by subverting their favorite characters.
Chris Gore, the most costly mistake Disney will ever make is turning boy brands into girl brands. Star Wars and Marvel were boy brands. They turned them into girl brands, and here we are.
Lord Vader, prepare to meet your maker.
But at least for now, it looks like the 8-year Hollywood wocaine bender has finally come to an end. Dad, who recently transitioned from mom, has bailed it out of jail, and it's on its way to a swanky Malibu rehab. And in this analogy, while woke Hollywood is going over the error of its ways, its friends, the gaming industry and Eastern entertainment, are moving in on its girlfriend, the market share. Something that Eastern entertainment in particular was able to take advantage of because the woke addict Hollywood decided not to work for a half a year. And now the results are in.
Well, gaming has always been big, and they've always been trying to move on onto it. It's just they know they've played and they've ruined the landscape on movies and TV shows, and gaming is right for them to try and move in. Thankfully, there's resistance. We're ready for you.
Hollywood contraction hits entertainment executive jobs. Quote, this is a full-scale depression, unquote.
Oh, no. Anyway, last week...
From Deadline, for Hollywood, Q1 was a bust. Will CinemaCon bring Q2 hope? Spoilers, no, but I may be at CinemaCon. Can't wait to meet Movie Bob. Now, often when I go over these navel-gazing Access Media articles, while they make some good points.
Yeah, shout out. They're all going to be at the meetup that sold out. I mean, not sold out because they don't charge, but the RSVP filled up both times. So maybe next time I will go.
I have to fill in the blanks, like Hollywood and entertainment is being murdered by the message. But there's something different about this one. All due respect to Godzilla, but the first quarter of this year was a bust for Hollywood. There's no getting around it. The news read like an April Fool's joke without a punchline. To be fair, I don't know if April Fool's Day is necessary anymore, especially here in Western civilization. Every day is April Fool's Day, especially in Hollywood and entertainment, and I'll give you an example of that later. Disney gave up its fight with Florida, better to face its battle with investor Nelson Peltz. Paramount's global debt is down.
Which they won. This was obviously filmed before that. Disney won its battle. Even if they capitulated with their Reedy Creek investments, they won. So Nelson Peltz and Jay Rizzullo did not get their board seats, even though they've just vowed that next year they will try to get more board seats.
to junk, and Paramount Plus is weirdly removing some of its hotter kids titles from the streaming mix. Just some speculation.
Sorry, just to point out again, because at the time of this recording, Disney stock price jumped from $124 a share to $118. It's probably even lower by this time that you're watching.
Here, maybe Paramount Plus is starting to distance themselves from certain Nickelodeon shows over a certain documentary.
Yes, that was poorly handled.
AMC is scratching for cash and peddling stock. The Alamo Drafthouse chain is for sale, and that actually sucks because I like the Alamo Drafthouse. At the box office, Q1's big hit was part 2 of a reimagining of a science fiction novel that ran hot when I was in the 8th grade. Well, we must be around.
Yeah, and I was trying to explain that movie theaters are real. I was trying to tell a friend how bad movie theaters are actually, because people have great home systems. No one wants to pay $20 for a ticket to go deal with other people talking and having to go out. And on top of that, you get 30 minutes of trailers you don't really want to watch for a movie where you preach to. It's very few Godzilla -1s or Dune 2s out there.
Around the same age. In other words, a long time ago. Through the weekend, Dune Part 2 had about $252 million in domestic ticket sales, which helped drag the overall box office total to around $1.6 billion, with a boost from the strong last-minute performance by Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire.
Which I heard was decent. It is exactly what you think. It's dumb. It's a dumb monster movie fighting each other, which is what some people want.
Watching that was the cinematic equivalent of a 54-year-old eating a Happy Meal. Brief enjoyment leading to inevitable regret.
Yeah.
The total is only down about 6.4% from last year's first quarter, but it's still off 45% from the glory years like 2017 and 2018. And what's really sad is this article doesn't even mention Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and I have to agree with Jeremy Johns. A better title would have been Ghostbusters Afterthought, which underperformed its first weekend and then fell off a cliff.
It's forgettable. It's unoffensive and forgettable.
Second. For the record, Doom Part 2 would have placed 4th in 2016, different times, behind Deadpool, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, the movie that truly started this downward spiral, and the furries' favorite Zootopia in the Q1 standings as tallied by BoxOfficeMojo.com. Thus, have expectations fallen? The first quarter box office, in fact, roughly matches what it was in the year 2000, and that's without adjusting for inflation. Now, the article states, keen observers, of course, saw the current movie slump coming. Sure, if you had at least one functioning eye and an above room temperature IQ, which would
there was like the 7th time we've seen him killed on screen.
Exclude most of Hollywood, as the number of planned releases fell in the wake of last year's Hollywood strikes, yet they went on strike anyway.
From 600 to 300.
Now, Deadline asks what can be done about it. That would have been a really good question in 2016, but apparently Hollywood is in need of a reboot. Now, I have been told in the past by some people that the titles of my videos can be a bit hyperbolic at times. For example, Disney is in full panic mode, but this next paragraph really exemplifies their desperation and shows that Hollywood is in full panic mode. Maybe some answers will actually surface next week in Las Vegas when theater owners meet for their annual CinemaCon convention.
What are they going to do?
Granted, Caesar's Palace isn't normally where you turn for deep soul-searching and strategic vision, but the great industry reboot has to start somewhere. Bit of a shocker coming from Deadline, who, along with all of their other ilk in the access media, had been reporting that everything was fine until recently. But they do talk about the need to diversify, create some variety, because quite frankly, in the big budget films we've gotten over the last 4 or 5 years, particularly from Disney, there hasn't been. And then they bring up finding strength in the middle by backing modestly budgeted movies like The Holdovers and Megan or Godzilla -1, although that's not from Hollywood. And then they bring up Angel Studios and don't put it in the negative light.
What?
Or given that Sony is sitting...
And I don't know if they're going to mention it, but they're re-releasing the Star Wars films again. Phantom Menace first, obviously. And then they're releasing every single Spider-Man movie in order throughout the week of April. So they're doing anything to get money back.
Out CinemaCon, which should tell you how important CinemaCon is to the industry, it might be worth listening to the Angel Studios presentation on Wednesday, April 10th. The people who brought you The Sound of Freedom. You know, the movie that the entire mainstream media was coming down on, calling it the Anon of Q. You know, the film that exposes trafficking children. Angel Studios might patch some holes in the schedule or have a useful thought about the alternative audience, which has grown thanks to Hollywood's act over the last almost decade. But this last paragraph is the kicker. That certainly beats counting on Hollywood's corporate types who have bigger problems than movies right now, or looking towards the stars, many of whom would rather talk politics than promote films. Did I just read that?
I'm glad they said that out loud. Hi, Mark Ruffalo and all the marks, basically.
Did Deadline just call out movie stars for being insufferable twats? If you're looking for a sign of things possibly changing far too late, that was it. Or waiting for Despicable Me 4, which might or might not jumpstart things come the middle of Q2. That's how bad things are. Again, that's just theatrical. We haven't even talked about the streaming bubble, which has burst. But the main thing...
Because what? Maybe they're getting a little bit of juice right now on X-Men 97. A little bit. But their Star Wars landscape, decimated.
Driving the Hollywood market has been franchises. And not just any franchises, old franchises that they've completely destroyed, and their time has come and gone. And we're well into the apathy phase, something Bob Iger is finding out after overseeing the destruction of Star Wars and Marvel. And in the What Have You Done For Me Lately Hollywood, Disney Star Wars, which I believe has never been good, but I'll be fair and say it hasn't been good for about 7 or 8 years, and Disney Marvel hasn't been good for 5. And poor old Bobby's even lost his allies in the access media from the Hollywood.
I would say the best Star Wars was right at the end, like it or love it, was right at the end of Mandalorian season 2 when Luke came back. Everyone had at least a little, well, not everyone, but a lot of people, even those that like were pissed off from The Last Jedi, had some good momentum, some good hope, and then they promptly threw that all away.
Hollywood Reporter Bob Iger's invincible era is over after a major Wall Street firm sides with active.
And then Kenobi and Ahsoka just decimated any hope of just like, oh, you guys literally can't make a good TV show. Okay.
Nelson Peltz, who was fighting the activist Disney company ahead of an April 3rd shareholders meeting. Investors are questioning how the CEO plans to plot out growth and his own succession, probably by buying more shit. And now even the media is wondering if the guy's going to leave in 2026 like he promised.
Yeah, and apparently there's a detailed plan for succession, but they're not saying who or what or how or why, you know.
No matter what happens with the shareholder vote, the weatherman will still have his job, but it will be an indictment on his entire legacy, which will matter to him a lot. And considering what Disney Marvel and Disney Star Wars has put out or announced over the last 6 months, the Marvels, Echo, our Charmin Obaid-Chinoy Rey movie, and The Acolyte, I would like to point out, it wasn't met with rage, it was met with laughter. And very soon,
Acolyte ratioed the trailer to over 600,000 downvotes.
It won't even be met with that. If you want a good example of 2 franchises that are well past the anyone giving a fuck phase, look no further than Star Trek and Doctor Who. Both shows have a lot in common. They're either at or approaching being 60 years old. Doctor Who is well past being a decade since it was good, and Star Trek is approaching 2. Both franchises had their continuity that was built over decades by some pretty brilliant men and women, completely destroyed by hack activist soap opera writers. Both franchises sacrificed their male characters on the altar of agenda, all to promote insufferable female replacements. Both shows gave us pronouns in space.
She's pretty fast.
They're fast. They, not she. I've never felt like a she or a her. So I would prefer they or them.
You're assuming he as a pronoun.
True. Yes, sorry, good point. Are you he or she or they?
Get out of my face, clown.
All leading to diminishing returns, and when it was all said and done, both franchises were completely spent. Then, with both franchises, there was a glimmer of hope. With Star Trek, there was Terry Metalis' Picard Season 3.
But for a brief moment, it felt like watching Star Trek again. He had the music. The characters miraculously acted and seemed like the characters. Their years of experience, they somehow remembered instead of being incompetent or toxic or whatever the fuck.
Which was immediately squandered when Alex Kurtzman decided to not pick up Legacy. With Doctor Who, it was the return of Russell T Davies, David Tennant, and Catherine Tate for some specials. But unfortunately, instead of getting TV showrunner Russell T Davies, we got activist Russell T Davies, and it was immediately squandered. And now both franchises have series coming out in the next couple of months, and I doubt you even know. or care. Star Trek Discovery, better known as STD, flares up one last time this month. And the once
don't care.
enigmatic and mysterious Doctor Who, hell, it's in the title, returns as the not-so-mysterious Dr. Gay in May. Correction, Disney's Doctor Who, and yes, that's another thing Iger had a hand in f***ing up. On March 27th, Variety...
Thank God I never got into Doctor Who. Thank God. Look at all the shit Gary has behind him. That's like 30% Doctor Who stuff. He's got all the series. It's one more franchise that hasn't been destroyed for me. It's the only reason. I'm sure it was great up until a certain point, but thank God they didn't get another one out of me.
Variety put up this PR puff piece, probably directly from Paramount, the future of Star Trek from Starfleet Academy to new movies of Michelle Yeoh, how the 58-year-old franchise is planning for the next generation of fans.
Sheer fucking hubris.
Just a few hours later, in the Hollywood Reporter, we get this. Paramount Global debt cut to junk status by S&P Global. And just days before Doctor Who released another cringe trailer and announced their episode titles for the upcoming season, Russell T Davies said this.
I think Doctor Who would have to become a co-production. There's no way the BBC is going to fund that. You've also got to look in the long term at the end of the BBC, which is somehow, surely, undoubtedly on its way in some shape or form.
And after watching the abysmal Ghostbusters movie and
okay. Abysmal is a strong word. It just, it was afterthought. That was a good word. And Roadhouse was so not related to the actual Roadhouse that I just find it funny they even attempted to call it the same thing.
House back to back, where the only redeeming thing was Conor McGregor's horrific acting.
Oh, don't be like that. Here, I got a tip for you. Don't let no one get this close.
Hollywood isn't just
It sounds worse without the music and sound effects.
Out of ideas, they're out of recycled ideas. And let's be real, most of these franchises weren't franchises at all. They were one film, some were maybe two, and most, if not all, were of their time. And the ones that were legitimate franchises that could have lasted forever, unfortunately won't. Their best days are far behind them, partially, if not mostly, due to...
Yet again, another legacy character pathetic.
To incompetent hacks writing different variations of the sad old legacy character teamed up with a girl boss who by the end of the film shows him the
look at Kathleen Kennedy self-insert
error of his ways, teaches him how to live, laugh, and love right before he dies.
Well, I'm surrounded by idiots. No.
Yeah, I'd create a bankruptcy and corporatism to the mix, and that's a recipe for disaster. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm blowing things out of proportion. Let's take a look at the remaining release.
You know, the sad thing is not only is he not wrong, he was underselling how bad it actually is. It's now crystal clear to me just how wrecked our entertainment futures are, at least in the mainstream. They're done, folks. It's over.
List for 2024, which features 17 variations of prequels, sequels, and reboots. Of course, we know about Deadpool 3 and Joker 2, but
15 cover songs.
Here's the rest. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga without Mad Max. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the fourth film in the third reboot of that franchise. Bad Boys 4, Inside Out 2, A Quiet Place Day 1, Despicable Me 4, Twisters, which is the sequel to Twister, Alien Romulus, which takes place between Alien and Aliens, making it Alien 1.5, a Beetlejuice sequel, a Transformers prequel, Venom 3, Gladiator.
That's the one that I've been hearing about for years. It's supposed to be a communist, the nephew of Joaquin Phoenix's character. God knows what this is going to be.
2, The Karate Kid, which is a sequel to The Karate Kid, which was a reboot to the original, featuring some people from the original, not to be confused with the final season of Cobra Kai,
where they learned kung fu, not fucking karate.
Mufasa, a live-action prequel to the live-action remake of The Lion King.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.
I thank you for listening and watching this long. If you, again, are not subscribed to Gary, by all means, what does the man have to do? Go over there right now. Let's give him to 2 million. It's over. It really is over. Man, I had a slight hope, and I just, after that Disney vote, it's just, let's just enjoy the ride down. Like I said, listen to the band on the deck of the Titanic and enjoy the ride down. Let me know what you think of this. Make sure to like, share, and sub. If you've done that, thank you. If you're going to do that, thank you. And God help us all.
Well, bye.